Ramblas by Aventon, however you want to say it. They have no business making a bike like this. Aventon's first true mountain bike. This thing's got juice. Welcome to the channel. If you guys are new, my name's Luke. I've owned my own e-bike shop for over 4 years now, and I do e-bike reviews from a shop owner's perspective, not only how the bike rides and feels, but also the customer service, the maintenance. In today's video, we're going to be going over 4 categories, like we always do: quality of components, quality of the ride, price to performance, and customer service review. Let's get right into it. Components, probably the most important part of this bike, and the biggest reason why you're going to buy it. Is it quality? Well, it is. There's some cool things on here that I really enjoy. We're also going to be going through the maintenance aspects of these bikes. Now, to be fair, I have not had a lot of these bikes in here for maintenance, but it is pretty easy to see how well one could get inside of the frame if needed, how easy it is to access the controller, replacing parts. So let's jump right into it.
All right, so first up, let's take a look at this drivetrain. Pretty much all SRAM parts. We have a rear 12-speed Eagle NX cassette with a 12-speed SRAM NX Eagle derailleur, 34-tooth chainring up front. This bike's got 29 by 2.4 Maxxis Recons. For our brakes, we got SRAM DB8 4-piston hydraulic brakes with a 200mm rotor in the front and a 180 in the back. I do like these brakes a lot. They work well for this bike. There's enough room to actually take them off. A lot of e-bikes forget this part and it makes it impossible to remove. As well as the bleeds too, looks pretty straightforward. And the brake pads are pretty generic as well. As for the motor, they call this the Aventon A100 mid-drive. It's 36 volts, 250 watts with a 750 peak and 100 newton meters of torque. Kind of insane. Another note on the brakes, I did not see a brake inhibitor, but you can see that all these wires kind of run through the top of the frame. It's kind of interesting. I haven't seen that before. The shocks, we have the Rock shocks. It's got 130 millimeters of travel with 44 millimeter offset, and it's got its rebound adjustment at the bottom here. All right, moving on here, we got rear lights integrated, which is kind of cool. And then it looks like there's an attachment for a front light, but I didn't see it in my box. All right, moving up to the handlebars here, we have our SRAM shifter, our seat dropper post, which is pretty nice. Glad that they added that on this bike. This is our display remote. We have a power button, a plus and a minus, so very simple. Our display is also very minimal. It's got 3 levels of assist. We have Eco, Trail, and Turbo. Our speed, battery life, time, and then some extra information as well. I will say that these are pretty brittle. I barely tightened it and it snapped. The frame is aluminum alloy. Another nice feature, there's no stoppers on this front headset, something I see a lot of e-bike companies do because of the wiring. So good job there. So let's get into the battery. We're looking at a, again, Aventon branded 708 watt hour, 36 volt lithium ion battery. They boast this bike can do about 80 miles on a charge. I like this casing that they have set up. It's really important for these mountain bikes. They're going to be thrashed around to have solid casing. So once you take the casing off, it exposes the keyhole, which then you can drop the battery out. This battery weighs about 12 pounds, so it's nice to be able to remove it for transport. And overall, solid setup for the battery. Alright, so lastly, the bike weighs about 54 pounds without pedals. It's a class 1, meaning it stops at 20 miles an hour. It comes in this pickle green color or a purple one as well.
I do gotta say, it's nice to see Aventon put name brand parts on every aspect of their bike. I mean, I've never seen an Aventon bike that has a name brand tire, as well as name brand forks, Rock shocks. I'm gonna give these guys a 4.5 out of 5. They really set the bar here with kind of these lower end companies like Aventon and Rad and Electric. I'd like to see more of that. I'd like to see some real quality parts on bikes. Granted, you are paying a lot more, but it's worth it for sure. So again, I'm going to give these guys a 4.5 out of 5 for quality of components. If you disagree with me, that's fine. put what you think in the comments. But what I'm used to seeing from this company, this kind of blows everything else out of the water. Okay, let's stop talking and go ride this thing. Now, because it's a mountain bike and advertised as one, we are gonna go take it on some trails and some single track. This is a bike that I have for sale in my store, so I don't wanna destroy it, but we will go test it out for you guys. Okay, so before we continue to climb Mars Hill, there's a couple of things that I want to point out on the bike. First off, the torque output is pretty crazy. It's pretty fast, pretty instant. I will say that the motor has a pretty loud noise, which isn't uncommon, but can be annoying. And if you're trying to be sneaky about your e-bike, it's a dead giveaway. Number two is the frame geometry is actually a little bit better than I thought it was going to be. It seems like there's almost like some kind of rattle when I hit some really hard bumps. I'll see if I can replicate it. Maybe it was just me or my bag or something, but we are at the hill. Now, this hill eventually becomes a 10% grade. So we're going to be using our gears and trying it out in turbo mode, which should have no issue because turbo mode's like a rocket ship. The real question is can I hold my phone while I record? Let's find out. I need to switch hands. Okay. I mean, I don't know if you can get the full scope of how steep this is, but.
So I try to get the shot of me riding up. Doesn't really do it justice, but if it gives you any hint, I stuck my legs out and it was still moving. So this thing's got some crazy torque. And then I noticed this trail that I've never seen before. So we went and explored it and found this rock drop, which I'm definitely gonna do. And then it goes down. So here we go. So I gotta sell this bike, remember? No, but I did go tear it up a little bit. I do like the way that it handled. The suspension's pretty soft, the geometry's right. Obviously there's a lot of weight there, but whatever. I love the dropper seat post.
Whew. All right, that was a pretty fun ride. I actually enjoyed this bike quite a bit. Shocks did pretty well. I could have probably used some more air in them, but that's all right. It's got pretty good handling. I will say, you know, I was a little skeptical with the weight of this bike being what it is, but honestly, I didn't notice it too much. Again, I didn't do anything extreme, which I don't think you do on this bike anyway. But if you're gonna go out and hit some trails, do a little bit of downhill, some single track, this bike kind of kicks ass. I had no issues with the brakes. The only thing that I did notice was one, there's some kind of rattling coming from the motor, or maybe it was a front headset. I don't know, I gotta figure out what that is. The shifting is kind of hard. It jumps pretty aggressively, but I have seen that with other mid-drive motors too. It's kind of hard to eliminate that because there's already extra torque while you're pedaling. So that's kind of a given on most mid-drives. You just gotta be a little bit lighter on your feet when you do that. I pretty much rode in turbo the whole time because why not? But I did ride in, you know, eco and trail, and the amount of difference in assistance is pretty insane. It's like almost like 30, 70, 90%. A lot of other mid-drives that I've ridden, you know, even at their highest level, they're maybe helping you out like 75%. This one, if you put it in turbo, I mean, you might as well just have a throttle on here because the lightest amount of pedaling will just get you going. And like I was topping out at 20, going uphill, just moving my legs, you know? So, I mean, if you like that, great, but I think I wish that there was a couple more variables or a couple more levels between the three to kind of space it out a little bit, but you know, to each his own. The other thing I noticed is that it doesn't matter what pedal assist level you're in, it doesn't do a great job of kicking in when you're in a really high gear. Like if I started in a really high gear, it was still really hard to get those first initial pedals. Some of my other e-bikes, it doesn't make that much of a difference because the assistance, whether the way it senses one way or another, just kind of instantly kind of kicks in and helps you out. This one, you're still having to use your gear shifters quite a bit. You still have to, which you should, but just it's definitely more apparent. So if you don't know how to change gears properly, you're gonna have to with this bike. Things that I really enjoyed about this bike are, one, again, the power. It kind of feels like you're doing downhill all the time, which I know is cheating, but you know, I could definitely see myself riding this bike, or even, you know, even if you're not looking for a full suspension, something that just kind of rugged and take anywhere with you. I do like this bike quite a bit, actually. And I'm kind of blown away that this is Aventon's bike. I was very skeptical when they came out with this bike, but this by far and away is the best bike that they've come out with ever. For those reasons, I'm gonna give ride quality a 4 out of 5. For the next videos, I'm gonna do them out of 10 because it's kind of hard to get enough gauge in just from 1 through 5. So if this didn't have the rattle and it had more levels of assist, maybe a little bit smoother gearing, then maybe that would have been a 5, you know, but it's pretty close and I do enjoy it. So if there's any other bikes you guys want to see, drop them in the comments. If I have it, I'll definitely do a video on it. If I don't, you know, maybe I'll reach out to the company and see if they'll send me one for a review video. Who knows? If you think I earned it, hit that subscribe button. If you didn't, then I guess I'll try harder next time. Thanks.